My mom calls me, and I fear she's calling because someone had a heart attack or died. Just out of the blue, I have these thoughts, and she's just calling to ask how I am.
My heart races. You almost lose consciousness, lose your sense of direction, and you're convinced that's it. You're done.
I had a couple of tests. They saw that I scored the highest on the anxiety scale. I saw the psychiatrist's big, round eyes as he said, "Aren't you planning to end your life by suicide?" I said, "No. Why?" He replied, "Well, your test results are quite bad."
How did your panic attacks start?
I used to live happily, positively. Everything was great. Until one night, I woke up thinking I was dying because I woke up feeling my heart rate is just off the charts. Uncontrollable, sticky fear, as if you're drowning, overwhelmed by a wave. Tiny shivers that you can't calm down at all. Your body is completely out of your control. Just a wild, primal terror. It lasted about 10 minutes. Strangely, I didn't die. I didn't understand what it was. And this continued for about a year, happening around twice a month. My mom calls me, and I'm afraid she's calling because someone had a heart attack or died. Just out of nowhere, I have these thoughts, but she's just calling to ask how I am. My husband, coming back from work on public transport, doesn't pick up the phone. I start thinking he's lying in a ditch because he felt sick, or someone attacked him, and he's dying while I'm sitting at home. And then this fear kicks in, like in the movies. But in the movies, it's just a second, while your heart races for 30 minutes, an hour, 40 minutes. Sometimes it turned into a panic attack. I've had times when stress caused my back to spasm so badly I had difficulty breathing.
Maybe it was accumulated stress. At that time, I was studying and working a lot. The job was quite stressful. I didn't understand what happened. I thought it was either a heart attack or something terribly scary. My heart was racing. I was nearly losing consciousness, losing my sense of direction, and I was convinced I'm done. I called an ambulance. They arrived, injected magnesium and Demerol. The next morning, I woke up feeling great. When it started happening regularly about a year ago, the ambulance came, and the medic said, "Oh, a panic attack. Do you work a lot at the computer? You IT guys are all like this." I experienced the first panic attack of my life, as I later realized, actually a month after I got my degree in psychiatry. It happened in a relatively open space, on a bridge. To my left and right, there felt like an emptiness, because the river was very low and far down below. I lost track of where I was. The way I perceived my surroundings changed. It felt similar to a fear of heights, where you can't move. My legs weren't giving out, but I couldn't move, frozen in place. I felt tingles all over my body and intense muscle tension. Literally, if I moved, I'd fall.
I was in a depressive state. It first happened at university. We were on a break, chatting with classmates, and suddenly I started to suffocate. I felt tingling in my fingertip. The sensation moved up, and I had a choking attack. I studied psychology, and I had read about panic attacks due to phobia. I thought to myself, "Dasha, calm down. You don't need a hysteria outbreak at the university."
What helped you fight panic attacks?
When you're constantly monitoring your body 24/7, thinking, it's about to start any moment, you live in constant fear. In this state, I was ready to try anything. Whether it was seeing a priest, a fortune teller, a psychologist, psychiatrist, or even a surgeon to cut off my head or anything else. So, I went to a neuropsychiatric hospital. I was fortunate to meet really great specialists. I asked to focus on therapy, not just medication. Sure, medication can suppress symptoms in the short term, but if you want to address the root of the problem, which I really wanted to ensure it never returned, therapy is the long-term solution.
I initially thought I was having an allergic reaction to something, maybe dust mites or fruits like oranges. I took an antihistamine, which helped. Believing it was an allergy, I continued this for about a year. Then, I was fortunate to meet someone on a trip to Warsaw. During the day, which is rare, I had a panic attack. A girl observed me attentively and asked about it. I explained it as some allergy, but she told me about panic attacks. She had been experiencing them for 5 years, attending therapies and taking medications. She advised me not to delay and see a psychotherapist. I tried various things, from antidepressants to sports, walking, listening to music, going to the forest, camping, etc. But the attacks kept returning, like in the movies. I had to accept and not fear them. I immediately resorted to medication. I went to a psychotherapist for the pills. They conducted a few tests and found my anxiety level was at its maximum. The therapist was shocked and asked if I was planning to end my life, which I wasn't. The medications gradually worked, reducing my depression and consequently the panic attacks. They became less frequent, and eventually, they stopped altogether after a week or two.
I went for a central nervous system exam first, and we did an electroencephalogram which showed normal results. As someone who had worked a bit in cardiology before and seen anxious patients with neuroses of various kinds, I realized that this was probably not about the head, but about my perception of the environment and the moment. And of course, I went to a psychologist, plus I read books also. I didn't have such a severe dysfunction that I realized that yes, I need pills. I went out of the house. Well, yes, I don't like being in a central square or a stadium somewhere else. It's called agoraphobia, and I did carry out certain avoidance behaviors, of course. But on the whole, psychotherapy helped completely.
Is it possible to help someone during a panic attack?
It's unnecessary to be afraid of my condition. If you see me talking and suddenly I turn pale and my hands tremble, it just means I'm scared, not that I'm unwell.
When there's a lot happening around me, like on the street, in a cafe, or on public transport, it's hard to focus and calm myself down. I need some kind of isolation, especially at the peak of the fear.
It's good to remove the person from the situation. Take them away from the crowd or the open space where it's happening. We lead them away and talk to them. The most important thing at that moment is to divert the person's attention.
Staying calm is important. Maybe hold their hand. Try to breathe in sync with them and assure them everything will be okay. You can repeat it like a mantra, even though the person might be lost in their thoughts. A soothing voice will have a calming effect. Suddenly, someone brought me a glass of water. My boss heard me mention a panic attack and reacted immediately. I was sitting there, trying to breathe, and she brought me a glass of water, saying, "Drink this." It helped me a lot. I'm grateful to her for knowing what it is and understanding how to deal with it.
It's important to have a good level of medical knowledge in society. It's difficult to distinguish between an acute myocardial infarction and a panic attack just by looking. A good, simple question to ask is, what's happening to you? I don't know. It's probably a panic attack. My heart hurts. Where does it hurt? Call an ambulance.
How to cope with an attack?
The first thing that helped me was an app called Anti-Panic, available on both Android and iPhone. I downloaded it, listened to audio pills, flipped through some things on it. It really helped.
Over the years, I've developed my own system to combat panic attacks. First and foremost are breathing techniques. I start by breathing deeply. If that doesn't work, I begin to count in my head. If that still doesn't help, I start saying calming words to myself. Everything is fine. There's nothing to fear. This will pass. The main thing is to breathe. I focus on what I'm saying, clearly articulating the words, trying to convince myself that everything is okay. When I feel bad, I encourage myself, sometimes saying, Valia, everything will be fine, don't worry. Similarly, I now talk to my panic attacks. Oh, come on, give it your best shot. No, it's nothing, it was worse last time, now it's not that bad. Of course, I'm exaggerating, but I try to befriend it.
A person who has experienced such feelings knows, oh, this is a panic attack. It has started, and it will end. I can control it. Even something like a rubber band on the wrist can help. When anxiety builds up, snap it, causing a pain stimulus, which then reduces the anxiety level.
I'm lucky to have a friend I can always call, talk things out, and receive no judgment. Just by voicing my thoughts to someone close and hearing them say, everything's okay, it's all normal, it will be fine soon, helps me calm down.
How did fighting panic attacks change you?
I remembered what is my age and decided not to waste time on stress. If something causes stress, it means you need to get rid of it. I quit my job, left my husband. In 3 months, I completely transformed my career, my professional views. I cleaned up my circle of friends, keeping only those I enjoy talking to. Now I maintain my life in a neatly groomed state. Everything started changing for the better. I became calmer, physically felt better, breathing, moving, driving, interacting with people, sleeping. I am myself again. It's hard to explain when you've been slowly stewing in fear, stress, and problems for 5 to 7 years. Now I wake up in the morning, do things, come home, look in the mirror, and I am me. Not that everything is perfect, but I try to stay positive and approach it with humor. It's not funny at all, it's terrifying, incredibly scary. And after that, it's not like you've just experienced 10 minutes of it and go back to sleep or whatever. No, it takes another couple of hours to completely recover, feeling drained like a squeezed lemon. You feel apathy, don't want anything. Just lie there. Everything around seems gray and bleak. These come-downs, as I call them, are even scarier than the panic attacks themselves. They are interconnected. You just have to approach everything with a sense of humor. In my case, it helps me to cope.
I think if something like panic attacks is given to you, it's for a reason. Your body wants to tell you something. Maybe you're doing something wrong in life. I started digging into the root of panic attacks and concluded it's due to heightened anxiety and probably a fear of death. Fear of death concerns those who don't live in the present moment. As a result of long-term therapy, I now live with more life and more emotions in the present. This is your life. Live it now.